Sammy Gyamfi di nkomo o news file so or Joy FM a wochiri mu a. In fact, ye ka say GOLDBOD a GOLDBOD institution na. Sammy Gyamfi say fan to etim say GOLDBOD make profit. Name make be a surplus. It was also a profit making institution and surplus making institution. Sammy Gyamfi na echirim. It's Ghana for Moka said, Sammy Gyamfi say, a powerful for or see GOLDBOD a benyan faso, GOLDBOD faso, or sing faso, a surplus. And a more Moka say a boka so ye more ka. It's young more can ye Sasun yan faso, no surplus any yan. Nene, only faso, Sammy Gyamfi in Chilimu dito aba. Efa GOLDBOD no, and good home sense. Some Hobsia, Jamura video in the dim community, we are home maybe a Sammy Gyamfi person, dear Sam Kokosi. Come on, a video by Major Bleeding Como.
Profit making, public operation has not made any losses. The GOLDBOD for the year 2025 generated revenue to the tune of 960 million cedis, a little over that. Our expenditure for the year 2025 stands below 120 million. These are all unaudited figures. So if you look at our management accounts, we are on our way to declaring income surplus. GOLDBOD does not declare profits, it declares surplus. There's a big difference between profit-making institutions and surplus-making institutions. Now, it's very clear that we will be declaring a surplus of nothing less than 700, 800 million, to put it very conservatively. The law that established the GOLDBOD, the Ghana GOLDBOD Act, specifically under section 42, requires us to publish all our quarterly financial reports on our website. We have done so.
Right.
And if you check that, you will see that everything I'm telling you is factual.
Yeah.
And by the end of first quarter 2026, that is by March this year, the Auditor General would have completed his external audit of our accounts. And we will publish all our financials for everybody to see that GOLDBOD has not made losses. And when you hear people talking about GOLDBOD losses, maybe they are dreaming or they are hallucinating. That is what it is. We've not made any losses. These are imaginary. You are
buying in excess of 3 to 4 billion Ghana cedis of gold every day.
Yeah.
And you are taking money from the Bank of Ghana for this purpose.
Yeah.
Every week. You didn't say every week. Every week, yeah. 3 to 4 billion Ghana cedis, not dollars. Right. And you are saying you have made profit and you have not made a loss.
We made surplus.
Because we are told that what you are doing is that you are transferring the losses onto the books of the Bank of Ghana.
Thank you for that question. Thank you. The reason why we've not made losses as GOLDBOD is that every money Bank of Ghana has given us, we have accounted for it. We've given them the gold equivalent. And we have gotten paid, we've been paid our agent fees. That is why we've not made a loss. Now let's go to the claim. You see, when you catch them here, they move here. They say, oh, now it is not the GOLDBOD that is making a loss. The GOLDBOD rather is transferring its losses onto the books of the BOG. How can an institution which is not making a loss transfer losses it is not making? Does this make sense? How can we transfer losses we haven't made? What GOLDBOD has done this year, you see, a child must learn to crawl before it walks. And a child must learn to walk before it runs. We established on 2nd of April. But by law, we took over the PMMC structure. And that PMMC structure is not fit for the purpose of the GOLDBOD mandate. So we needed to put in place the necessary institutional and operational framework that can deliver the GOLDBOD mandate, which means new departments, new units, new employees, new systems, new policies, and all that. So our supervising minister,
including police powers,
exactly, setting up your task force and all that. Because PMMC didn't have a task force, PMMC didn't have a risk unit, PMMC didn't have a trading department, and we have to put all that in place and employ workers. Then our minister, to his forcing, says, you have 7 months to the end of the year. This is the time for you to learn how to crawl. So put in place these measures, but while at that, you can't be doing nothing. Continue PMMC's Gold for Reserve program with the Bank of Ghana, because you inherited that agreement under the transitional provisions of the Gold Board Act as Section 76. So continue it. That is what we've been doing. So that program we have been running this year is a BOG program introduced by BOG in 2022. That program is funded by the Bank of Ghana. And that program has always sat in the books of the Bank of Ghana. In 2023, 2022, 2024, when the MPP was in power, G4R accounts did not sit in the books of PMMC or BOST. The accounts sat on the books of BOG, rightly so, because it's a BOG program funded by BOG. So where from this claim that it is Gold Board that has made an 8-month-old company now is responsible for the losses of BOG?
You talk about Atuforsen says what you have done in 1 year or less than 1 year, it would have taken someone else 5 years to achieve.
It's refreshing when you hear your minister say such kind words about you. He's not always as kind as that, you know. He's always very hard on people like me when he meets his numbers. So this was a very good new year message for me, but that's fine. But the key point I'm making here is that the G4R program was introduced in 2022 by the BOG. It is funded by them. It is their program and therefore it's sitting in their books. Now, that program is a non-profit monetary policy initiative. A non-profit monetary policy initiative introduced by the Bank of Ghana to help them achieve their primary mandate of price stability. That program, any loss under it, is not attributable to an 8-month-old Gold Board, neither is it attributable to mismanagement or incompetence by the BOG. Because when you say that Gold Board has not made a loss, they say, well, Sammy Gyamfi is saying it wasn't me, but it is BOG. Dr. Siama is a hero. And I'm going to explain that to you. He and that wonderful team at BOG. They have not, through mismanagement or incompetence, caused any loss. Any reported loss under G4R, if any, is a product of policy design. That is how the policy was designed to come to incur intentional and strategic expenses for superior economic benefits. So we are not saying we have not made a loss, but somebody has made a loss through mismanagement. No, that is the policy design. And it is so sad that those under whom the policy was introduced are now feigning ignorance about the policy objects and the policy design.
Earlier in April of 2024, was it 2025, you were heard to have made, criticism of the PMMC for buying the gold at what you call spot price for the gold for reserves. And then selling to make loss. Meanwhile, you're doing the same thing.
Okay. You must understand, when I was speaking about the need for us to achieve some consensus, some agreement with miners, for us to be able to buy gold within a certain discount threshold, I was talking about the Gold Board model. I was saying that for Gold Board to avoid losses, the Gold Board will have to engage these miners for them to agree to some minimal acceptable discount. Under G4R, that is not the policy design and the policy rationale. First of all, let's ask ourselves, why was G4R introduced? Once you understand that, you will understand the point I'm making. The Bank of Ghana, Samson, did not wake up one day and said that, look, we want to make profit so we are going into gold for reserves. That was not the policy rationale. Over the years, Ghana has accumulated reserves mainly from the export earnings of commodities like cocoa, oil, and gold, and other export earnings. That has not been enough. So governments have resorted to borrowing to shore up reserves. Because without your reserves, your currency is dead. And without a stable currency, you don't have a country. You don't have an economy. So governments have had to resort to borrowing. Now, when MPP came into power, that reached a crescendo. Of course, they abused it. And every year, averagely, they were borrowing from the Eurobond market about $2 to $3 billion US. So by 2022, the results were staring us in the face. Debt default, marked by hyperinflation of 54%, currency depreciation of more than 50% by November 2022. And we being locked out of the capital market. So we could not borrow for dollars again. So there was so much pressure on the currency, and the currency was depreciating. It hit 17 cedis at some point in 2022.
Upgraded to junk status.
Yes, because there was no supply of FX to meet demand. So the Bank of Ghana said, okay, now we can't borrow for dollars again. And you see, when you borrow for dollars, the effect is palliative, temporal, because you have to repay the debt. And when you are repaying, you have to pay it in dollars. You have to go and find dollars to repay. So the Bank of Ghana said, okay, we will use cedis to buy our gold in Ghana. And we will sell the gold on a weekly basis, T+4, for dollars, and give the dollars to the market. So the purpose of the program has always been foreign exchange accumulation, to meet market FX needs and to build reserves. For what purpose? For the purpose of national economic stability. The purpose is not for the central bank to be trading gold like a licensed buyer of the gold board trades gold, buying at discounts and margins to make profits. That was not the purpose. So when the Bank of Ghana started this, they didn't have any gold board in the picture. The market was dominated by foreigners. And these foreigners were not repatriating FX inflows back to Ghana. They were bringing dollars through the Abochi man, through what is called Hawala. So it was not impacting the finance sector, the financial sector. So, and these people buy gold from 1957 till now. Gold is bought in the market at say 1% to 2% discount. But the exchange rate is always market rate, the informal retail rate. So Bank of Ghana says, I need a strategy to get the gold instead of these foreigners. So Bank of Ghana, through the Minister for Lands, Sabon Abujinapo, and I can give you the statement, announced to gold traders that henceforth, buy gold but you can't export. Sell the gold to PMMC for and on behalf of BOG. And that BOG will buy the gold at spot price. That was the incentive to encourage people to give their gold to the states so that we can get the much needed forex. Now that obviously creates cost for the BOG, and the BOG knows that. And that is why I said the associated cost, what somebody will call the loss, is an intentional and strategic expense for superior economic benefits. They know that this will be the cost of buying as spots, because we are buying as spots, offtake discount that BOG has to give to offtakers is cost. Fees it has to pay to its aggregators like GOLDBOD is cost.
I learned that ChatGPT works best with detailed prompts, but I hate typing them. So instead, I dictate them.
Attain cost. But they know that the benefits of getting the much needed FX will be far superior. That is it. And that is why Samson, it has never been an issue for the BOG in carrying cost energy for us.
So what you are telling us is that you're practically justifying, the program despite its downside costs.
Exactly.
For as long as it props up the economy the way it has done in the last, year, we are good. So when the IMF was...
And on the point of spot price, just one second. You see, Ghana, a lot of time, we must learn from experience. Let your producers, they can put on the screen the table I gave them of good ASM gold exports, small scale gold exports from 2018 to 2025. You see something very interesting. In 2021, the MPP introduced a 3% withholding tax on small scale gold. Small scale gold exports output declined sharply that year. Look at the table. Okay, I can see it here, it's not on the main screen. From 39.3 tons in 2020, worth $2 billion, it dropped to 3.4 tons. 3.4. The whole year 2021, Ghana got 3.4 tons. Single 3.4 tons from small scale sector. Why? Because of a 3% discount in the form of withholding tax. And FX inflows reduced from $2 billion in 2020, COVID year, $2 billion to $185 million. So learning from this experience, the Bank of Ghana does not pursue its own accounting profits, because the Bank of Ghana is there, is a banker of last resort, is the banker of government. It is mandated to achieve price stability and support government's economic policy. They are there to build reserves to ensure that your currency is strong, and when you achieve that, the benefits you get renders any accounting loss infinitesimal. And when we get there, I'm going to explain to you what those benefits are.
We need to get there as quickly as we can. And for those of you just joining, this is News File, and I've got my other guest here. But the plan, the arrangement was that we will take sufficient time with some.
You said you give me 1 hour.
The CEO of the Gold Board, to allow him sufficient time to explain all the matters that have come up before we bring in our panelists to also ask him questions and bring their perspectives on this issue. So, is there any plan to eliminate or reduce this?
First of all, let's talk about the
cost
benefits
and losses.
I want to talk about the benefits. Then I will tell you, when we say cost, G for our cost or loss, what it is.
Okay.
And I will tell you how it can be reduced or eliminated. Number one, let's assume we maintain that the Bank of Ghana is right. We must wait for the external audit before we can make any specific pronouncement on losses. It's important, because any figure you throw out there may prove to be inaccurate after an audit is carried out.
The IMF did the wrong thing?
Oh, I think that well, because they did a fifth review and they have to give some form of report, you can't blame them. But I think that they should have qualified that figure and stated that it is tentative and subject to audit. I think that should have been, objectively speaking, no disrespect, but I think that should have been the approach. But the issue, what are the benefits? Assume, let's even grant them, we've incurred that, and let's even grant Kojo Oponkrom's $300 million, that is the cost. What has been the benefits? $10.8 billion foreign exchange inflows. $10.8 billion. Because of that, we have met our foreign reserve target for 2028 in 2025, 3 clear years ahead of time. When MPP was signing on to the IMF program, they said they will attain $11 to $12 billion reserves in 2028. We have done that in 1 year. Because of that, for the first time in about 3 decades, the Ghana cedi has annually appreciated against its trading currencies. 40% appreciation in your adult life. When do you recall something like that happen?
I've been unsure if this is organic and this will stay.
Very organic. 40%. We have brought the retail dollar rate from about 16 cedis to now below 12 cedis. Interbank from about 15, 14.7 to now 10.4.
The Fitch prediction was that we would have gotten to
15.5.
15.5.
They are all shocked. Even the IMF is shocked. And because of that, our external debt has reduced by over 100 billion cedis. External debt. That is why debt to GDP has moved from 726 billion cedis, constituting 61% of GDP as of December 2024, to now 620 billion cedis, constituting 45% of GDP. Debt servicing. Even before I talk about debt servicing, let's stay here. Lending rates, or even like the Ghana reference rate, which is the benchmark for lending, for loans, has reduced from 28% to 15.9%. Something, you understand? Inflation has declined for 11 consecutive months. 11 consecutive months. From 23.8% to 6.3%. Food inflation declined from 27.8% to 6.6%. And according to AGRA, food prices have reduced by averagely 32%. If you look at debt servicing this year to last year, 2025, external debt, the Ministry of Finance had to service $3.6 billion, $1.8 billion to IPPs, and $1.8 billion to Eurobond, debts,
actually
about 3.6. You see,
2.5 billion.
That money if we were servicing it at 16 to the dollar, which is what we took. Or even assume that, because if we had not done this, the dollar would have crossed 25 cities like Dennis Miracles Abuaji said. If we had not done what we did. And so it would have even been far more. But even if you peg it at 16, as compared to what we are doing now, we've saved over 16 billion cities on debt servicing. This is real saving to the taxpayer.
Does this include the $709 million
yes.
that has just been
because
paid?
That $709 million
which the state has saved 3.5 billion.
Yes, because that $709 million, the finance minister would have had to convert cedis at a higher exchange rate than now.
Yes.
So that difference is what I'm telling you.
At least if we are using the fetch,
yes,
we would have had to convert to 15.5. But today,
and the saving is still more than 10 billion.
Today it's at 10.1.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Benchmark to budget. Even benchmark at 11, the saving is more than 10 billion cedis.
Okay.
Take the import bill. As at September, $11.8 billion. If importers had to import $11.8 billion worth of goods at averagely 16 cedis to the dollar, and mind you, 16 is even conservative because without this program, dollar would have been 25.
It's going to be around 80 billion.
But you pick even the 11.8 at 16 as compared to 11, the saving is over 50 to 60 billion cedis to consumers. You understand? So this is not a joke. The impact has been a significant national economic gain. The cost is infinitesimal. But when we say cost, when we say losses, what are we talking about? Sometimes people think that Bank of Ghana has taken taxpayers' money, gone to buy gold, sold the gold, and we lost $240 million. Somebody has stolen money or somebody has mismanaged. That is not it. When we say give our losses, let me explain to you. From 1957 to date, gold is bought in the gold market in Ghana at retail market exchange rate.
You said that already.
The euphemism for black market. Now, Bank of Ghana and Gold Board, we are buying gold from a non-bank market, which is a market made up of small-scale miners and gold dealers. And when we go, we have to buy the gold at that retail market exchange rate. Gold Board has sought to bring it to interbank. But anytime we peg the price to interbank, we realize that prices in neighboring countries like Cote d'Ivoire become higher than ours by say 600 cedis per pound. So all the gold goes to Cote d'Ivoire. And sometimes smugglers are offering prices at informal retail rates. So your interbank rate will not get you any gold. So when we buy the gold at the retail market exchange rates, and Bank of Ghana gets the dollar proceeds, the accountant and auditor comes to audit their books. The accountant must now convert the dollar inflow into cedis. The dollar is not really converted into cedis, but for accounting purposes, it must be converted into cedis because Bank of Ghana's values are in cedis. When the accountant is converted, the accountant says, my hands are tied. I know that the acquisition rate of the dollar is retail market exchange rate. But by law, because you are the central bank, I can only convert the dollars at interbank or BOG rates, which is always lower. So that creates an exchange rate translational difference because Bank of Ghana is acquiring dollars at retail market rates and converting at interbank for accounting purposes. That is 97% of the losses people are talking about. Then number two, let me tell you the second part of the loss. Bank of Ghana says, by policy design, I want to buy gold at spots to fend off smugglers and make sure that what happened in 2021 when gold output, export output declined from 39.3 tons to 3.4 tons, I don't have that situation on my hand. I need the dollars. Because of that, Bank of Ghana incurs about 2.3% cost. What does this cost? Offtake discount, which under MPP used to be at some point 2.2, came down to 1.25 in late 2024, and now Governor Esiama has brought it to 1.1, the offtake discount. Gold board fees, and of course, purity losses. Purity loss basically means that as a country, since time immemorial, we don't do the golden standard of assay to determine purity of gold. What we do is SRF, which is only indicative. But when the international buyer buys the gold, he must subject it to the golden standard of fire assay. That creates a purity difference. and that can cause a loss. That is what we are talking about here. So an accountant is right to pick that and say, from a pure plain vanilla, accounting perspective, I mean, you've made an accounting loss. But it is, like I said, an intentional, strategic, economic policy cost.
Adaroma Ghana ne wono, Ghana pa ne wono. Like at times never be ko say ya. Ya na hwe ne din ya na masere kire say NPP aban na te so. E na san nem we ko so. E na mfa sam mrako aboaje na so be fofo de san kire mu we ba ya. Kasa Sammy Gyamfi so ne pa chi a. Do be si ahoro no. Once Sammy Gyamfi relax it, and will give you details. All man chirimu. What I say? Na sadia make profit and ya can able. I didn't mock can make profit. It's identity net to get the way and yan for dear. Company na institution in yan for institution. No more surplus. Now surplus can never ban idea and for so. But I never can say, oh, can you target to one party? And any issue no. But I was aware Sammy Gyamfi more there, but also for doing to comment section and the breaking come on. Hi Hannah TV.